Drum roll, please. Welcome to Qalo Afrika podcast, where we connect individuals and stokvels to entrepreneurs and business people looking for capital to expand or grow their businesses for shared economic growth and job creation. Qalo Afrika is a registered financial services provider brought to you by ENL Mutual Bank. Dumelang Mzansi, Kalibito Kintabelen Dikoti, the co-founder of both ENL Mutual Bank and Qalo Afrika. Today I come to you wearing two hats, but mostly holding space for Qalo Afrika community. Each episode, we bring forward an entrepreneur or an institution looking for capital to expand their businesses for economic growth or for job creation. We interrogate the idea, we test the numbers, and we weigh the impact. This first episode, we are hosting the co-founder and the chief risk officer of ENL Mutual Bank, Mr. Manzini Mlaudzi. Mr. Mlaudzi, sawubona.
Yebo, kunjani sis?
Ukhona ninjani?
Siyaphila.
Welcome to Qalo Afrika podcast.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, after graduating from UCT some few months ago,
Okay.
I spent a lot of my time in the financial services industry, from insurance to banking. As part of my training and working, I was involved in the banking license application of one institution. And I was also involved, as I went on, I was also involved in training in treasury management as well, which was all part of banking. So it gave me a lot of round-up approach and experience in terms of banking. And around 2016, I decided to leave and explore what's happening in the outside world, which was a decision that was difficult to take, but I took it. In my resignation, I even wrote that I am plunging into the unknown, which was seriously unknown. In the last 8 years, have been really unknown. Okay. So that has been my journey for the last 8 years. It was unknown, but now we are here.
So when ENL Mutual Bank started, you had already taken a decision to say, I'm going to go on my own and explore this uncertainty. How did you end up getting involved in the ENL Mutual Bank journey?
I had worked with some ladies at some point, and then they called me after I left formal working. They called me and said there is some young ladies who are applying for a banking license and they need your skills. So just because I was involved in a banking license application before and I had a lot of banking experience in financial services, I heeded the call. I met the young ladies. They inspired me. They were exciting, which is yourself and your team, which is who I am now, part of the team. And that is basically when I saw the vision, I felt this was the way to go. That's how basically I started working with ENL Mutual Bank.
So starting a bank from scratch, right, that time when we look at that period, what motivated you then in saying, these young people don't have banking experience, you come with this wealth of experience?
The most important thing is that it was the landscape of the financial services industry that I felt really needed a lot of, if I can put it, black representation. So that inspired me that there is some people out there who are prepared to leap into that unknown territory. At first it was a challenge because I was older, I was a man, I was more experienced, everything I seemed to be like, but they had something that I didn't have, which is that vision of owning a bank. I had never had that vision in my life. So that actually inspired me to join them because it was something that I felt would change the South African banking and financial services industry. So I bought into it.
What you just said is so important, right? Because if we look at the banking sector, from the top level to middle management, a woman, black woman, especially representation is not there, right? It's limited. So coming from the male-dominated industry as a man who's much older and you're working with this young woman, was that not intimidating for you?
It was intimidating, of course, waking up every day and going to work with these young women. It was something that I hadn't done before. It was informal, something that I didn't know. I had never worked in an informal environment. But the way that we were working, the culture that was there actually changed my perspective. There is a number of things that I had to adjust. I had to unlearn the way I was doing work myself. I had to adjust to the way that they were working. I had to change a lot of things in my life. And yeah, it has been a beautiful journey.
So what do you say to men that are saying, this is a woman-owned bank? How do you work with women? How is it going to be led by women in banking? What would you say to men that think like that?
I would say women are more disciplined and more focused than men. The most important thing is to respect the idea, to respect the people that you are working on. Men and women are different. That is one thing for sure. You can't run away from that. The way men approach things is totally different from the way women approach things. We as men are more forceful sometimes and more towards getting the results, but women are more patient as far as I'm concerned. They move like, something that I had never seen before. They move with a lot of resilience. Women, we want to see the results. We want to see money on the table. Maybe it's the pressure from the other woman at home. I don't know.
Yes.
But we want to see something working. But once women put focus on something that they want to do, this is what I've seen in the last 8 years, they really push it. So I will say you have to respect women that you work with, and you don't have to take them as second-class citizens. They are actually the number one citizens. They are the ones who are looking after us. They are looking after the homes, and they are starting banks.
Maybe it explains why then that ENL Mutual Bank was able to get the license, because of the resilience that was required for the mutual bank license. My understanding is that ENL Mutual Bank is the first majority black women-owned bank in South Africa. So for them as women to go through that whole journey of 9 years, it must have been remarkable. That's why maybe men would have said, no, 4 years later, they would have said, I'm done here, I'm moving on to other projects. Yeah. Tell us, how was your experience though of the mutual bank application?
I would say the first thing that I would have done after maybe about a year was to quit. It was a long journey. If the ladies were not there, I can tell you now I would have quit, because there were so many positives and so many weak points that we faced during that period. Coming back to the patients, during our journey, we met a lot of men that had started that journey and ended it, got away halfway through. Unfortunately, we didn't meet women. So it was just men that had started the journey and they had ended it halfway. So for me, there were a lot of challenges. There were a lot of great wins. There was a lot of experience that I gained as a person. There was a lot of, how could I put it, crying, if I can put it that way, that I saw during the journey. So it wasn't an easy journey, but the fruits were evident. Even during the journey, you could feel that there was a lot of energy that was there, and that was very encouraging. Otherwise, maybe if that energy wasn't there, if that cordial working relationship wasn't there, it was going to be easy for us to quit. So thank you for that. I would thank the other ladies for that good experience.
So for this whole 9 years, it's such a long time to acquire this banking license. What is this bank? What is a bank? In the simplest form, if I had to explain it to my mother or to my 5-year niece, what is a bank?
A bank is the backbone of the economy. Everything that we do through banks. All companies that are operating in the country, they operate through banks. They have to bank with a bank. They have to put money into a bank account. And then if they want to make some payments, they have to make them through banks. If they want loans, they have to get loans from the banks. So in simple terms, a bank accepts deposits from customers where customers keep their money safe in a bank. Then the bank takes that money and it has to safely lend and conservatively lend to other people to make money out of the money that they would have borrowed from customers. So that is how banks actually work. So they are highly regulated. The reason why they are highly regulated is that the deposits that people put in a bank have to be safe. When someone puts money in their bank account, they have to be able to get that money as and when they want that money. They can't go to a bank and the bank says, hey, sorry, namhlanje, I've got no money.
Yes.
So it has to be there. That is why the Reserve Bank is very strict. And failure of one bank normally affects other banking institutions because banks are connected. So if one bank fails, it affects all other institutions besides the customers that bank with that. So the Reserve Bank has to make sure that these are the right people that are going to run a bank, they are going to have the right resources, and they are going to run the bank efficiently.
So you've mentioned safety, right? And for me, it also talks to trustworthiness. And you're also talking about banks failing. Unfortunately for ENL Mutual Bank, you carry the burden of this failed bank called VBS Mutual Bank. How was that experience, or how is the experience? Because that experience, that burden, you still carry it.
Yes, it is true. VBS, it was a mutual bank, where still it was a black-owned mutual bank. So that is why that stigma is attached to us as a mutual bank and as a black-owned institution. What people have to know is that since 1993, there have been 17 bank failures in South Africa. It's a lot. But unfortunately for us, it's VBS that is associated with us. In the 9 years, every time we had meetings with people, whether it's investors or it's the regulators, VBS would come. I remember one time even our leader, who is yourself, telling some people that I don't want to hear of this VBS story because I wasn't there. I wasn't part of that institution. Yes. So you cannot ask me about VBS, but it is our reality. It's a reality that we live in. As the chief risk officer, it means that I've got to make sure that the depositors' funds are guarded jealously. We have to make sure that as and when the depositors want their money, which is what liquidity is all about, the money is always there. So when we lend out the money, we have to lend out responsible. We have to make sure that the reporting to the Reserve Bank is done timeously, every month, every quarter, annually. And we have to make sure that we comply with the regulations of the Mutual Banks Act.
So you talk about safety, and for me, it's also about trustworthiness, right? So what do you say to people that ask us about VBS Mutual Bank as ENL Mutual Bank now? How do you respond to that?
VBS was started in Venda in 1982. That is what people should know, that it was run perfectly. From that time, it was a small bank run by the people from that side. They put their deposits and they trusted the people that they are putting their deposits. People should understand that around 2012, which wasn't really in the far back, new management came. And that management is the one that actually, for a lack of better word, messed up in terms of the reporting, in terms of how they were doing business. So it was a people management issue. So it was people that actually deliberately brought the bank down. Not that mutual banks actually don't operate correctly or according to regulation. It was actually people within that bank. And fortunately, our government has made sure that those people are brought to book. And as we know, most of them have been attending court sessions. And as a mutual bank, we know definitely that if we do anything wrong, we'll be in all stand up. We'll be in court.
Yes.
So we are aware of that particular fact that we have to report, and if we don't follow the rules, we'll find ourselves in jail. We've got a fiduciary duty to report correctly and efficiently to the Reserve Bank.
And what is a mutual bank?
A mutual bank is almost like any other commercial bank. It receives deposits, it invests, but it's got limited mandates in terms of where the money can be invested. For example, in our case, all our money will be invested with other banks, which is the big four, big five banks that are regulated by the Reserve Bank. All activities of the bank are regulated by the Reserve Bank. So if we have to put money with FNB, we have to tell the Reserve Bank that we have put these deposits as funds with FNB. The Reserve Bank will know exactly how much you have put with the FNB, and we have to monitor the risk that is associated with FNB. So we cannot put money elsewhere. All the products that we offer are regulated by the Reserve Bank. So everything that we will do is always going to be regulated by the Reserve Bank.
So you've explained what a bank is and the difference between the mutual bank and the other banks. But there are three levels of banking in South Africa. I usually say is the Cooperative Banks Act, the Mutual Banks Act, and the Banks Act, or commercial banks as we know them. Can you just explain the difference, the high level of the three?
A cooperative bank, which is the lowest of the three, is owned by a cooperative, which is a group of people that have mutual interest. So you can only do business with those people only. So for example, if they have to lend money, they can only lend money to those people only. That is where we were as a cooperative financial institution. So we could only do business with ourselves. Then a mutual bank, which is regulated by the Mutual Banks Act, is just a few notches higher because it is very close to a commercial bank. The only difference between a commercial bank, as we know banking out there, is that with a mutual bank we cannot do foreign currency transactions. That is the major difference between the two. Otherwise, the Reserve Bank accepting, we can do almost everything that a commercial bank can do. Then a commercial bank just banks everybody, international transactions and so forth. So that is the difference between those three.
I think for now we kind of understand the banking a little bit. So now what's in this name, ENL Mutual Bank? Before you were a Young Women in Business Network, Cooperative Financial Institution, you were registered as YWBN Mutual Bank, which is short for Young Women in Business Network. I just want to put it on record that you don't exclude men. You just put more emphasis on women. But ENL Mutual Bank does not exclude men, does not exclude other races. It just says it's a majority Black women-owned bank. But tell us what's in the name ENL Mutual Bank?
Okay, so ENL Mutual Bank is a digital bank. So the E in ENL is for digital, as we know, e-commerce and so forth. So that is what the E stands for. It shows that we are a digital bank, so we don't anticipate that we have brick and mortar branches. So almost everything that we do will be online. Then the NL is from Tabeleng Dikotsi, the initial founder of the bank. The decision was taken by the other members of the Cooperative Financial Institution to honor her for the journey that she started in 2009 to where we were when the Reserve Bank gave us the banking license.
So we understand the different levels of banking and what a bank is. Now tell us more about ENL Bank. What is your unique selling proposition?
ENL is more focused on SMEs and SMMEs. That is where our selling point is at. As such, we won't be competing with the other banks. That is how we see ourselves. At the same time, we do offer normal banking products. We have transactional banking products and loans, but for businesses, not personal loans. For transactional banking, we've got a product that is called Betcha, which is a wallet product. The difference between what we are offering and what is out there is that it is an independent product. It's not linked to any other bank account, so you can can just open that account only. The good part is that you don't need to have your proof of residence to open that bank account. So it's called Liquidity. So you are allowed to open just using your ID and some other details. Then you've got a Zaga account, which is your transactional product, which is a bank card and a virtual card. You can choose between the two. And with that, you can do your normal banking, your EFT, ATM withdrawals, point of sale, and so forth. All the banking capabilities that is offered by other banks you can use, you can get from that product. Then we've got a Qalo account, which is linked to your ZAC account. We are encouraging people to save, so it is a savings account. So out of almost everything that you'll be saving, you've got an option to save with a Qalo account. Then we have business accounts, where we encourage different levels of business to bank with us, from people who are selling tomatoes in the streets who have registered businesses. They can bank with us, to normal businesses. And then from there, you've got our loan account, which is your the first product. We call it a quick loan, where if you have a purchase order, you just bring a purchase order to us, then we assess that, and then you can get the money from us, and then you pay back that loan within the 2 months. Then you've got another 6 months where there is monthly repayment, and another 12-month product. So that is, at the moment, that is what we are offering as ENL Mutual Bank. We should also understand that all these products that I'm naming now are regulated by the Reserve Bank. So they have been approved by the Reserve Bank. So we again report on the performance of those products on a monthly basis.
I totally love the venture account. I mean, guys, venture me, I will venture you, let us venture each other. So I guess that is the concept behind venturing. And it's so youthful, you know, this venturing. So
yes,
we'll be venturing each other there, making sure that there are no transaction fees on the venture account as opposed to the Zaga account, right?
Yeah, definitely there are no transaction fees. So it's a free account. Obviously, Zaga has got a monthly fee, but Becha doesn't have a monthly fee. That is a good part. So you can open that account and you can start transacting, especially for people that don't have formal jobs. It's very important because you don't have to produce anything to open that account.
You are still watching Qalo Afrika, a fully registered financial services provider where we connect individuals and stokvels to business people or entrepreneurs that are looking to scale up or grow their businesses for shared economic growth and job creation. We're in studio with Mr. Manzini Mulaudzi, who is the co-founder and the Chief Risk Officer of ENL Mutual Bank. Baba, you mentioned liquidity when it comes to banking. It is extremely important. My understanding of banking as well, there is this thing called capital adequacy ratio. Tell us about that.
Liquidity is the most important when it comes to customers, because customers should be able to get their money when they want their money. So it should be in an investment that is ready to release that money. For example, when the money is out in loans, that money is said to be liquid, because if the loan is due in 12 months, you cannot get that money back until it's 12 months. So it is said to be illiquid. But when it is sitting with FNB, you can get that money from FNB, or is sitting with the Reserve Bank, you can get that money from the Reserve Bank if customers want their money. So it is important that the bank keeps some of the money as liquid assets, which means that it has to sit with other banks or the Reserve Bank, so that when the customers want their money, they should get their money. So that is what liquidity is all about. So it is one of the issues that has led to bank failures in the past. Those 17 bank failures that I talked about, most of them went down because of liquidity. Our famous VPS went down because of liquidity. Then capital adequacy ratio is also linked to liquidity as well, because the Reserve Bank looks at the assets that you invest your money in. Like as I said, with loans, you should, if you take 100 Rand and put it in loans, which means that that money is gone. You cannot, if the customer wants their money back today, you have to find the money somehow. But if it's sitting with the Reserve Bank, it is somehow accessible. So the Reserve Bank will say, for money that is sitting with us, you don't have to keep your own money as capital. So that is what we call capital, keeping your own money to actually give the depositors when they want it. So there is a risk ratio that they associate that with. They say with the Reserve Bank money, you don't have to keep anything. But with loans, you have to have some money that is associated with that loan as 100%. So that is the capital that you have, and that capital is composed of your equity, which is basically permanent capital that is sitting with the bank, and your retained earnings. That is the capital that you have. So we look at the capital adequacy ratio, looks at the ratio of those risk-weighted assets versus what we have as capital. So that is what the capital adequacy ratio is, and the Reserve Bank then monitors that ratio. Every month you have to report on that ratio. If it falls beyond a certain level, then the Reserve Bank can actually call for capital, which means that they say, can you give us more money? Can you get some more money into the bank so that your depositors are protected?
Mr. Manzini Mlaudzi from ENL Mutual Bank has just told us about the need for capital in the banks or in the banking sector. So as you know, that Qalo Afrika is a platform that connects individuals and stokvels to business people and entrepreneurs that are looking for this capital to grow or expand their businesses for shared economic growth and job creation. So please visit Qalo Afrika at www.qaloafrica with a K.co.za. That is www.qaloafrica with a K.co.za. So he is looking for capital. We are connecting you, or we are connecting each other to businesses that are looking for this capital. He's here to tell us how much capital he's looking for. What is it that he's looking for exactly? Baba, please tell us about On the Bank Share Scheme.
Okay, thank you. The On the Bank Share Scheme aims to involve all the South Africans in owning this particular asset. We believe it is a very big advantage to own the bank as compared to being a customer. As I explained in your previous question, the bank needs permanent capital, which means that it's unlike a deposit where you come in and deposit, tomorrow you want your money. So when you are a shareholder, you are a permanent capital provider, which means that you own part of the bank. So the Reserve Bank will look at you as the owners of the bank. Here in South Africa, there are different owners of the bank. Most of them are institutions. But with ENL, we aim that individuals, they will not only be as customers, ordinary people will have an opportunity to own shares within our bank. And that will make us a very good community.
How much are you raising?
We are aiming to raise about 80 million. Just above 80 million in this particular exercise, but we still need some more from institutional investors as well. But for this one, we need about 80 million.
And what is the share price? How many shares are you selling?
The share price is 10 Rand per share, and we are looking at selling around 8 million shares, which will give us that 80 million. I think is 8.1 or 8.2 around there. So it will give us around 81, 82 million that we raise. And that is for 5% shareholding.
For somebody who's watching Qalo Afrika podcast and asking, how much do I need to participate in this On the Bank Share Scheme, what would you say to that person?
The minimum amount that is needed is 1,000 Rand, only 1,000 Rand. And then there is an administration fee of 200 Rand. That is non-refundable. So you first pay that administration fee, and then the maximum amount is 2 million. We are keeping the maximum so that somebody who's got 80 million doesn't come in and take all the shares, and they are the only person that owns this shareholding that we are offering to the public. So that is the reason why we are keeping it at 2 million.
So for mutual banks, the Mutual Banks Act stipulates that the depositors become shareholders of the bank. What does that mean?
In this particular case, the people that will be subscribing to this share offer will be permanent capital holders, shareholders. that is. So that is our Class A shareholders. So they are the ones who will be able to vote in our AGM and make decisions about the bank. The other shareholders, which is depositors, they will be able to participate in AGMs, but they don't have any voting rights.
So for a viewer at home that is saying, I have 1,000 rand, 10 rand nominal value, a minimum of 100 shares, that's what gets me to the 1,000 rand. I become a member of this cooperative, which my 1,000 rand will be a member capital in the cooperative, right? And then my understanding is that then you don't assess that individual, or the Reserve Bank rather does not assess that individual. It assesses the cooperative, right, as a collective. So what would you say to somebody that says, with my 1,000 rand, what will I get for my 1,000 rand? What is my return on investment?
The return on investment will be the same for everyone. We are expecting, from our projections, from what we are seeing in the market, we are expecting that the returns will be in the north of 15%. We are expecting that this being a first women-led, first women started, if I can put it that way, black bank, this bank is going to grow. So besides the returns, which are basically your dividends, we are expecting the bank itself to grow at some point, such that at some point, if the bank has to go to commercial, which is when you are going to be able to sell your shares, you are going to sell your shares at a far much higher price. So that is when the most of the return will come from. But it will be exactly the same for everybody. So if the price would have, for the share price would have grown from 10 rand to 30 rand, it will be the same for everybody. So it doesn't differentiate whether somebody invested 2 million or somebody invested 1,000.
So you have aspirations of one day be a commercial bank, but you're saying one day in the future, right?
Yes.
What is the login period for the mutual bank?
At the moment, we are expecting 6 years. That we are going to be in for the next 6 years. That is what the law says. So you cannot take out your shares in the next 6 years. You cannot sell your shares. The Mutual Banks Act is strict on that one. It's unlike when you're investing in a commercial bank where you can put your money today if it's listed on the stock exchange and sell it tomorrow. You cannot do that with a mutual bank.
You also mentioned that the unique selling proposition of ENL Mutual Bank is that you're focusing on SMMEs, right? Which is the small, medium enterprises.
Yes.
So now, as I understand from the return on investment and the dividend policy that you guys have, what then is the benefit out above the dividends and the return on investment? Just looking at your unique selling proposition where you're saying, as a bank, we are focusing on small, medium-sized enterprises. What is then my benefit as an individual?
We are expecting that the customers of the mutual bank will be the same as the borrowers, as an example. So mostly to be shareholders, you'll be a shareholder, you'll be a customer, which is a depositor, and at the same time, because you'll be depositing with us, you'll be able to, your companies will be able to get loans from us as well. So even if we are charging interest, it's almost like you are borrowing yourself money, because you are going to get that return yourself in the future.
But what about somebody that says, but I'm not in business and I'm not an entrepreneur. I have no desire to open a business one day, but I am investing in this bank. What then would be my benefit? Your
benefit is that in the future, the share price will grow. That is the most important thing. We are expecting that this bank is going to grow, and your money, the return on your money will be higher than just getting a simple return in terms of dividends. So we are expecting that it will definitely grow.
And I'm assuming because the bank focuses on small, medium-sized enterprises, and with the job creation or the unemployment rate in South Africa, when there's a bank that focuses on SMMEs, then we are hoping that the jobs will be created, and then therefore unemployment will decrease. For a person who's saying, I'm an individual, I have no interest in being an entrepreneur or owning a business one day, but perhaps you might just be employed by the very same people that the bank funds, or your nephews, your nieces, your sisters, your brothers, your family, your friends, and other people in general that will be employed.
Definitely. So the aim is to have more financial inclusion And financial inclusion means there will be more employment. So these small companies that are not able to access capital from the bigger banks will be able to access capital from us and be able to employ other people from their communities, thereby increasing the living standards of general South Africans.
So you spoke about individuals that can join. Can stokvels join? Because here at Qalo Africa, we connect individuals, stokvels, groups that are looking for investment opportunities.
Yes, definitely stokvels can join. There is an opportunity for stokvels to join in other groups as well, as long as they have, say, for example, their articles of association for their registration documents, they can actually join. They can buy shares as a group. As well as individuals with the South African ID, they can join. Foreigners who are outside the country can buy shares as well, but at this point they can't open bank accounts. And foreigners who are working in South Africa and they have work permits and they're staying in South Africa permanently, they can actually buy shares and they can open bank accounts.
Okay, so that is who can join, right?
Yes.
And we've also spoken about the exit, that the people are locked in for a period of 6 years.
Yes.
We have also spoken about the return on investment for the people that will be investing, right?
Yes.
So if you are interested and you're at home saying this is quite an interesting investment, you would like to participate and become part of the member of this cooperative, here is the process that needs to be followed. You visit www.qaloyaafrica with a k.co.za. Then you sign up. We would pay a non-refundable fee of 200 Rand, and you will choose which option you want to buy. Once you have paid your 200 Rand non-refundable fee, you will be required to open an ENL mutual bank account. Once you have opened an ENL mutual bank account, you have two options. The first option is to open a Betcha account where you do not require a proof of address. They call it a light FICA. Or you can open a Zaga account, which requires proof of address. After you have opened the ENL mutual bank account, then you will be required to buy your shares. But remember, before you buy your shares, you need to be a member of the cooperative. Therefore, you would have accepted the terms and conditions and the constitution of that cooperative before you can buy the shares. And therefore, once you click on the amount, let's say you want to invest 5,000 Rand, or you want to invest 1,000 Rand, or you want to invest 2 million Rand, you would have accepted the terms and conditions of the cooperative, and thereafter you will then have your shares. The process of this, then the ENL Mutual Bank and the cooperative, they will form a shareholding partnership whereby ENL Mutual Bank will then have to submit that shareholding partnership subject to the Prudential Authority approval, and the Prudential Authority will assess or do their due diligence on the cooperative, not on you as an individual. That process is done by the cooperative. Once the Reserve Bank Prudential Authority has done and conducted their due diligence on the cooperative, they have approved the process, and thereafter only then you will become a shareholder of ENL Mutual Bank through the cooperative. So don't forget to visit www.qaloyaafrica with a k.co.za to join, and there will be many more opportunities that we'll be presenting on the Qalo Africa platform, and look out for it all the time. Once you have paid your investment capital or the member capital into the cooperative, there will be a shareholders agreement between the cooperative and ENL Mutual Bank, where ENL Mutual Bank will submit that request to the South African Reserve Bank's Prudential Authority to request authorization for approval of those shares. Remember, this whole process is subject to the Prudential Authority approval. It is not up to the ENL Mutual Bank team. It is subject to the South African Reserve Bank's Prudential Authority. Ma-Afrika amatle, this is your time. The time for economic rebirth is now. We are now connecting individuals, stokvels, and groups that are looking for entrepreneurs and business people that are looking for capital to expand and grow their businesses for shared economic growth and job creation. You cannot miss this opportunity. It is time, and our time is now. The time for economic growth, the time for economic rebirth, and for time for you to act. No more discussions, no more talking. and no more debating. If you're just going to talk or you're just going to debate without action, you might as well not just say anything. Right now, it is time for action. To viewers and listeners connecting with us wherever you are, thank you so much. This was our first Qalo Africa podcast episode, our first investment on the Qalo Africa platform. This means that now Qalo Africa is your home. For that, we say thank you. Re a leboha, siyabonga. If you believe in Africa's investments, and if you believe in shared ownership, then ENL Mutual Bank is now your bank, the bank of the people, built by the people, the bank that understands their own people. You can catch us on all social media platforms on @Qalo Afrika, remember K, the Africa with the K, and you can visit our platform at www.qaloafrica.co.za. My Africa Amatle will forever be grateful. This is now our time for economic rebirth. Until next time, keep investing and keep believing in Africa. Bye.